Hello, everybody. Welcome to Koilel Kol Shira and Breslov Research Institute. And Baruch Hashem, we're always doing things in partnership. And thank you, everyone, for joining. And we're going to learn about a nice Torah here today in Likutei Halachos from Reb Nossan that's going to help us understand this idea of the Eved Ivri. What was an Eved Ivri? An Eved Ivri was a Jewish servant that there could have been a Jewish fellow that was involved in he stole something, right? He stole something, or it could be he damaged something, right? He damaged something, and he doesn't have the money. He doesn't have the money to pay back what he damaged or what he stole or whatever the case is. So Bezdin has the right to sell him. Has the right, he can be sold as a servant for 6 years, and on the 7th year he goes free, right? And Bezdin sells him as an Eved Ivri, as a Jewish servant. Okay? Now, there are different laws with the Jewish servant. For example, one of the laws that Rashi tells us is like this. If the person comes in, let's say the person is an unmarried, he's a single guy. He's a single Jew. He's not married. So the law is that the master cannot give him a shifcha kenanis, a non-Jewish maid servant that he has. He may have a non-Jewish maid servant. By the way, when a Jew takes in a non-Jewish maid servant, the non-Jewish maid servant takes on the laws of the same way a lady takes on of mitzvahs asay man grama, mitzvahs asay that's time bound. So those mitzvahs that are time bound, this lady doesn't have to do, but other mitzvahs they do have to do. Like, for example, the lady has to keep Shabbos, the lady has to keep kashrus and things like that. Okay, now, but if this Jewish fella was married and he could have had children himself, let's say he's married with children, and then he gets sold. So now his new master can give him a shifcha kenanis while he's a slave, while he's enslaved, to have children with this lady, so that way he can gain more servants. He'll have more servants. But the Torah says, in begapa yavai, begapa yetzei. If he goes in by himself, he goes out by himself. So it's a very strange phenomenon. Why? If he's a single guy, he can't have relations, he can't be involved with the shifcha kenanis, but if he's a married guy, he can. Very strange. And let's understand why. Isn't it interesting laws? Did you ever hear these laws before, Rabbi Yaakov?
Yeah, and those children of his with the Sifat Knanis,
yeah,
they considered Jews or what? I mean,
no, they would not be considered Jews.
They
no,
wouldn't be considered Jews.
They would not be considered Jews because they're born to the, again, it goes based on the lady. It goes based on the lady.
They're not Jewish.
They would not be Jewish. No.
Jewish.
They would have a status of they would have, again, the same type of a status that they'd have to keep the laws. They're not considered outright non-Jews. And then if they're freed, they could become Jewish. It's kind of complicated, but
they have to keep the laws of kashrus and Shabbos.
Yeah, they have to keep those laws. Yes. Right. But they wouldn't necessarily have to sit in a sukkah. They wouldn't necessarily have to eat matzah. They wouldn't necessarily have to shake a lulav and things like that. Those are time bound. Okay.
Time bound.
Okay, good so far? Okay, these are the laws. Now let's understand how this works. So here we go. Vim bigapa yavai, says Reb Nossan. V'zeh pasuk bigapa yavai. This pasuk means that he comes in by himself. Onu royin oitzim ribay rachmanis yizbarach afilu al hanoiflim la'avdas gomer. So we see how much rachmanis HaKadosh Baruch Hu has, how much mercy, compassion Hashem has to even somebody that has fallen down to be a slave. HaKadosh Baruch Hu even has compassion on this person. Kizeh shemochar es atzmai le'eved. The fact that he sold himself to be a slave, that he sold himself. Whether he sold himself, like I said, he sold himself because he wanted to sell himself, or he sold himself because he stole something and he was chayiv, he didn't have the money. Either way, he was sold. He was sold. He causes a great blemish. V'nimshach ma'oid achazu masanachash. He's under. He goes under the domain of the nachash, of that nachash hakadmaini. Shu bechinas avdos, which is entrapment, enslavement. Ki machas atzmai le'eved gomer k'vayim b'divrei Rabbeinu Zal. Rabbi Seinu Zal, as our rabbis teach us, migoydel apagam shel ha'eved k'may sham Rabbi Seinu Zal oizen sheshama al har Sinai ki li b'nei Yisrael avodim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said on Har Sinai that you're supposed to be a servant to me. We're servants of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? We're servants of Hashem. But now, what did you do? You did something that's causing you to have to. You're doing something that's causing you to have to be a slave to somebody else. Those ears that heard you shouldn't. Those ears that heard you shouldn't sell yourself. Sold yourself. He got himself a master for himself. The whole point of Yetzias Mitzrayim, l'sakin chet adam arisha, to be misakin, to fix. Why? When we went out of Mitzrayim, it was the repair. We made a repair for the chet of adam arisha. What was the chet of adam arisha? We can see kedua. Lot takes from bechinas avdas shu zumas hanachash lebechinas cheirus. We got out of this. We got out of the control. We got out of the control of the nachash, and we came into freedom. Shu bechinas kabbalas ol Torah. Now we have to have the kabbalas ol Torah, like last week's parsha Yisrael. We accepted the Torah again. We accepted the Torah anew. It's a brand new Torah for us. So now, shu ikar hacheres, and that's the main freedom that we have the Holy Torah. As the rabbis taught us, that what did they teach us? Al pasuk chorus. Al haluchais, it was etched into the luchais. In other words, HaKadosh Baruch Hu etched the laws into the luchais. We all know that. And the Chazal say, Al tikrei charus. Don't read the word as charus, engraved, etched into the stone. Ella cheirus. Chazal tell us, rather read the word as cheirus. We were freed by it. Because when we have by Vayas having the Torah, and Vayas keeping the Torah, and Vayas keeping the mitzvahs, is the greatest freedom that we have. It's the greatest freedom. We know what we need to do. We're not wandering. We're not wondering. We're not searching. We know exactly what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us, and that's the greatest cheirus that we can have, the greatest freedom. Ki kol adam kol mashem mekabel olav biyoser ola parnasa. Because each person, the more he takes upon himself the yoke of earning his livelihood, he takes it very seriously. He takes it so seriously, and he feels that, I'm going to work harder, I'm going to make more money. I'm going to work harder, I'm going to make more money. Nonsense. Who said the person's going to make more money because he works harder? That's the way the Goyim believe that. If I work very hard, I'll make more money. But Jews, we don't believe that. We understand whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu granted us that we're going to have on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, that's what we're going to have. But those that ascribe to the idea of parnasa, and they feel, if I don't go into the office so many hours a day, I'm not going to make a living. If I don't make so many calls a day, I'm not going to make a living. If I don't do this and this and this, I'm not going to have a living. Who nimtzut b'yais achas achar achiza zumas anachas chas v'shalom. That person again is signing up to the impurity of that nachash, the snake of impurity, that original snake that was in Gan Eden, that tricked Chava, that wound up tricking Adam Arishan, and that's why we had to go into Mitzrayim, and that's why we went into Mitzrayim, to slaves. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu freed us, like we said. Don't read it that it was chorus ala luchais, rather it was cheirus. We were freed via the luchais. But now if the person signs up because he feels that he's going to work so hard and he's going to make more money, kefi nifilasai, according to how much that this person had fallen, right? The more he falls into the Agia, he toils. He toils va'avdus utirchos ha'olam hazeh, and he gets more carried away in worldly things. He thinks that the more I work on it, the more I'm going to have. Therefore, Chazal warned us, work a little bit. Yeah, you have to still go to work. Listen, no one said you're not supposed to go to work, but you have to be Isaac in Torah. You still have to learn Torah. You have to take time out to learn Torah. You can't say, well, I'm earning a parnasa, therefore I have no time to learn Torah. And Chazal tell us, I say Torahscha keva u'malachtecha arai. Make your Torah. That should be keva. And the malacha should be the like we have in Sukkot, right? We have in Sukkah is a dira arai is a temporary thing, right? Is a temporary dwelling, and the dira's keva is the house. So therefore, the same way, Torah should be for us like that edifice, that strength. We put the strength in, and our malacha should be arai. It should be more like of a temporary thing. Shein lecha ben chayrin elami she'isik b'Torah. And the only person that's really a free person, who's a free person? He who devotes his time to study Torah. The person that devotes their time to study Torah, a person that puts his effort into learning Torah, that person is considered a free person. That's what Chazal teach us. It's a phenomenon. Yes, go ahead, Yaakov. Yes.
Now, we have a case in the Gemara.
Yeah.
Of a man who's sitting, and he's a money changer.
Mm-hmm.
And when somebody comes to him, he changes the money. And when somebody doesn't come to him, he sits there and he gazes. And then we have the other instance of a man who's a money changer. And when people come to him, he changes the money. But when they don't go to him, he goes out and he makes his own business. And this is dealt with a word of praise for the one who goes out and just doesn't sit there.
Okay. So the case. Okay, so Yaakov, he's being praised for not wasting time. See, the other one is just sitting there and daydreaming. That's wasting time. Yeah. Okay, listen, the other fella, that if he's not changing his money and he goes out and he's using his time, if he's using his time to earn money, again, that he can, and again, if he has the right mind frame, and we learned this many times, that you can be going to work, and you could be, it's considered learning Torah as well. When you're going to work, you understand it's all hashgacha pratis. You understand it's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu's control over what's going on. And the person has in mind that I want to be able to buy nice food for my family, kosher food. I want to be able to relax and enjoy the Shabbos the way I'm supposed to. We're middle learning Masechtas Maya Katan right now. Right? In Maya Katan we talk about all the difficult laws of Chol Hamoed. So the guy says, listen, I want to work and I want to make money so that way when it comes to Yom Tiv and there's a Chol Hamoed, I don't have to worry about I'm going to work or not. I'll be off from Chol Hamoed. I'll do the right thing. It'll be gavaldik for me. So that person that goes to work like that is a great person. Because he wants to be able to give tzedakah. He wants to be able to support Torah. He wants to be able to support Aniyim. He wants to be able to support Almanis and Yisayim. This is a great guy. He's great. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a guy that has he's got $1 billion, but he has to go to work. He's got to go to work. I need $2 billion. I need $3 billion. Stupid. He has more money than he can ever need. But he's going to work. He's chasing after it. Look, Yaakov, what do they say? What does it say on a dollar bill? In God we trust, right? Yeah. And they say that people worship the dollar, right? You ever hear that expression? He worships the dollar. God. What?
And that God.
And that God, exactly. You heard that expression, right? We're talking about those people that are worshiping the dollar. We're not talking about people that get up in the morning and they go daven and they learn a little and then they go to work and they earn their parnas and they come home and they'll go listen to another shir. They'll do the daf yomi. These are great people. We're not talking about that. We're talking about people that have a lust They have a lust for more and more money. These people. That's what we're talking about over here. Because people that make the Torah keva, those people that make the Torah that it's keva for them, it has a full existence to them. It's a strong existence. Those are free people. Those are people that are not, I'll stay in the office longer today because I'll make more money. No, the guy when it comes 5:00, he says goodbye everyone, have a nice day, and he goes home. He goes to his family. That's what he's supposed to do. Okay, does that help you understand that, Rabbi Yaakov? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Therefore, he who sells himself to be a servant. Because again, when a person's a servant, he can't be Isaac and Torah. He has to listen. He has a master. He has to do what the master tells him to do. He's mamish attached to the nachash. He's being squeezed by the nachash. He's being squeezed by that snake. He sold himself to a complete servant. He made a blemish in the whole Torah. The whole Torah, everything we do, Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim, right? We make Kiddush on Shabbos, Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim. In Kriya Shema, we're talking about Mitzrayim. Everything is about Yetzias Mitzrayim. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu took us out of Mitzrayim, so we were slaves there, so we could be HaKadosh Baruch Hu's servants. He wants us to be his servant. So the person goes and sells himself. This is a total pagam in the whole essence of Torah, because he's not being HaShem's servant, he's a servant to somebody else. And that because we went out of we were slaves in Mitzrayim. We went out to Cheres, to freedom. We all know these words, right? Okay? And then I am Hashem, your God, that took you out of Egypt. And this guy decides he's going to sell himself. The Torah was permitted his master. The Torah, this guy fell so low. He stooped so low by not listening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that said, "You're my servants," and he wound up selling himself to be a servant. So the Torah says that this master that he sold himself can give him a non-Jewish lady, a Shifcha Kananis, to have children with him. Vehu l'chayre temia nisgava. This is an awesome wonder. This is a wonder. Eichuta ben Yisrael. How does a Jewish person b'shivcha she'avon chama mi'ayid mi'ayid? It's a tremendous sin for a Jew to have to cohabitate with a non-Jew. Of course, it's a tremendous sin. Rabbi Seinu Zal, as the Chachamim taught us, how that sin it's immeasurable. What a great sin it is. V'amru, listen to these words. Sha'am Ravinu Maitzi Kol Yisrael. That Am Ravinu takes out from Gehenna if a Jew Chas v'Sholem is coming into he comes to the next world. He comes to the next world, and they find him that he has to spend a little time. He has to spend a little time in the slammer up there, right? So, but Avraham Avinu is sitting at the Pesach of Gehenna, and any Jew that was very careful in his life, that never had relations with a non-Jew, he saves him megehenim chutz me'aba ala nachris. Everybody except for the one that had relations with a non-Jewish lady. Whoever had relations with a goita, that person Avraham Avinu does not save. Amazing. Rahman al-Tzlan. Ach bazeh anu royim oitzim yiridasai v'nifilasai shel zeh hanimka le'eved. Now we can understand how far and how low this person stooped by selling himself to be a servant. Sheyaret kol kach la'avdus gomer. He went so far to be a complete servant, a complete slave. Whatever this master tells him to do, he has to do. He has to follow what the master says to do. Amazing. Ad sheruta b'shivcha lo'heled avodim kenanim. He can give birth to Jews like to slaves that are not even Jewish. They're Kenanim. They're non-Jewish. They are non-Jewish. La doinav k'maisha kasav ki mishnah schar socher avdecha. Because whatever happens, whatever he attains while he's a slave, it belongs to the master. It doesn't belong to him. It's amazing. Ve'im kain sheyared kol kach la'avda shu zumas hanachash yira in the fula v'roa mi'oid at shehuta b'shivcha she ikka b'chinas yira roa v'nefula mi'oid. So you see how, when you just read the parsha and you see, okay, so the guy sold himself to be a slave, he's a Jewish slave, it doesn't seem so bad. But when you study the laws and you see that if he was a married person, if he was married, the master can give him a shifcha kananis, to have children now that'll remain with the master. They won't even be his children. That's how sad it is. That's how sad this is. Ki shmiras habris hi yira kedaisha, because watching our bris, the bris kodesh, via keeping what we're in the middle of the weeks of Shavivim, right? The weeks of purity. And that's why this parsha always comes up in the times of Shavim, to remind us how careful we have to be, what we see, what we look at, who we spend our time with, and the laws of tznius, and all of these beautiful things. Ki shmiras habris hi yira kedusha, because shmiras habris, that is holy yira. Ki sham ikar hayira v'abusha tzrichim niyasyari l'isyabesh me'adoyin kol haaretz. And there we have to be embarrassed from the adoyin kol haaretz HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shaloi lifkay ma'afilu beheter chas v'shalom. That we shouldn't even have a pagam, even in what's permitted for us to have. Even what's been b'kol shekain be'ezeh nidud isa chas v'shalom. So any situation that's usher chas v'shalom, we should never ever get involved with. And look at what he says now. B'zeh bechinas bereishis. So we know Bereshis is Bereshis. We know many different things. But here the Rebbe says Bereshis is Bris Eish. Look at this. You see the word? Look at the Beis. You take the Beis and the Reish. You take the Yud and the Saf, and then you get the word Bris. And then you're left with the Aleph and the Shin, which is Bris Eish, Bereshis. Yarei Baishes, which is also Yarei Baishes. A person that has to be fearful that he shouldn't be embarrassed, of being embarrassed, but not being embarrassed to people, being embarrassed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kisham Iker Hayira, that's where the main year is. As Rabbi Nachman spoke about so many places. We know Yosef Atzadik, he was the one that was shomer at Esabris. What happened? We know he came into that house. He came into the house of his master. Okay, and at that time, and when he came into the house, we know there was nobody there. Right? There was nobody there at all. There was nobody there, and Ashes Potiphar wanted to have relations with him. And what did he do? He ran away. No one would have known. Would anyone have known? Would anybody have known? There was no one there. Nobody would have known. No one would have said anything. But that's what. But Yosef Atzadik understood. Bereshis is bris eish. He understood that's bris eish. My bris is like a fire. I have to keep it. I have to keep my bris holy. And he was able to run away. That's Yosef Atzadik. Sheshemer bris shenemar by esolikim yorei ani yorei. I fear. Yosef Atzadik said, I fear HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I don't fear man. I fear Hashem. And he who can have relations with their wives at the proper time, b'kedusha b'tahara, when it's in a sense of holiness, in a sense of purity. That's the true yira. That's how a Jew gets his true yira. How do you know that? Kibas Yisrael hakishera, because a Jewish lady that's kosher. Kosher means that it's the proper time in the month for her, and the lady counted her the days, and she had the desire nikiyim, and she went to the mikveh the proper way that she's supposed to go to the mikveh. And when she goes to the mikveh the proper way, that's a kishera. Nikra isha yiras Hashem. As we say in the Shira, as we say on Friday night, right? What do we say on Friday night? Isha yiras Hashem hi tishala, right? Isha yiras Hashem hi tishala. Remember those words?
Sure.
Right? Everyone know those words? Isha Hashem.
Right.
Okay, all right. That's how we see that. Yeah. Okay. Ulahepech, and the opposite, and the farthest, the farthest opposite. Rahman Latzlan Befrat Pegam Nida Shifcha Goya Uzayna. If the person's involved, Chas v'Shalom, in a relations with a Nida, a lady that has the Nida, how do you say that in English? She has the period, right? Okay, that time Shifcha, a slave, a goya, a non-Jewish lady, a zayna, or a prostitute, Shem Ikra tzifus hahepech mamish meisha yiras Hashem. That's the exact opposite. That's the exact opposite. That's the chutzpah of the sitra achar of the other side. Bevadei neifel l'taikif hayira. They fall to the taikif hayira ra ma'oid. She sitra the ma'isa. So these people become fearful of everything. You have people walking around today, they're scared of their own shadows, right? They're so scared. Why? Because they don't have purity. Jews that are pure, Jews that understand and have yira of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they're not the people running around scared of everything of these days. Only the Jews that are not involved in the right purity, those are the guys that are terrified. They're terrified because of this, right? Bechinas ragleh yaredis mavis rachman litzlan. Now, even though this Jewish guy, he sold himself to be a slave, and he fell down this far. So we may say that this guy is hefker, right? He's hefker. He sold himself. Too bad on him. And he's hefker. He's free. He's free. He's hefker. Chas v'sholem, right? He's hefker. Gomer. Ve'ein lo shum tikva oid. He has no hope. There's no hope for the guy. Like Kenu, that's not the way it is. Ki anu royin, rachmanusa yizbarach. We see the great compassion HaKadosh Baruch Hu has on every single Jew, no matter what situation they're in. Ha'otzim hamaruba beli shir. It's immeasurable the amount of compassion HaKadosh Baruch Hu has on all Jews. Shagam b'ha'evid yesh kama v'kama dinim. That we see that there are so many laws, even when it comes to the slave. When it comes to this slave, there's so many laws, right? How the Torah says we have to have rachmanis on the person. We don't have kira. We're not making him hefker chas v'sholem. He's not hefker. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has rachmanis on him. V'zeh anu royim b'mashes hira Torah. Im begapa yavoy begapa yetze. Now you understand these words when you read when you're being mavis sedra and you hear the words in the Torah and you hear the words in begapa yavoy. If he goes in with his own goof, he goes in by himself. Begapa yetze. Then he goes out by himself. If he goes in by himself, he goes out by himself. What's that mean to say? Ramar b'seinuzal, Muba b'perish Rashi. And Rashi, he brings the Rebbe is bringing down Rashi. Im ein loy isha, if he's not married, if this Jew, before he got in trouble and he sold himself, if he was not married, also lim saloi shivcha kananis. So then the master cannot give him a shivcha kananis. One may think for a second, hey, if the guy's not married, so give him a shivcha kananis. If he's a married guy, why would you give him let him have relations with another lady? But the Torah doesn't. That's not the way it works. The works is like this: in begapa yavai, begapa yetze. If he goes in by himself, he can't have any relations, and he can't be involved in the shifcha kananis, in the non-Jewish slave lady. He can't be. Rak im baal isha, but if he has a wife, who all of Nemar, and him it says im adoiniv yitim lo isha. If his master gives him a lady, the master, his new master now, can give him a shifcha kananis. I can't, it's impossible to really understand this. But the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu are unimaginable. And what you could find in them, as Rabbi Nachman taught us, we have to toil right? Even though on one hand this person fell so low that he became a slave, until that the Torah says that he's allowed to get a shifcha, he's allowed to have relations with this non-Jewish lady. HaKadosh Baruch Hu chayshev gam olav levaliyah nitcha legamri. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want anyone to ever feel pushed off and pushed away. HaKadosh Baruch Hu never wants anyone to be pushed away. Chas v'sholom. Al kein loy huta loy shifcha. Therefore, if he doesn't have a wife, it's not allowed. He's not allowed to get the shifcha ki'im kishayesh laisha kisheira bas Yisrael. Only if he's married to a kosher bas Yisrael, to an upstanding Jewish lady. If he's married to an upstanding Jewish lady, she'oz afilu im yisa shifcha. Now, if they'll give him a shifcha, yesh lei tikva, he has hope. Because when he leaves, he'll then be able to go to a mikveh. He'll be able to then have relations with his proper wife, with the Jewish lady. Shumi Sitra the Isha Yiras Hashem. She's from the side of holiness. The Jewish lady is from the side of holiness, where the non-Jewish lady is from the side of impurity, where he's connected to the side of impurity. Why is he connected to the side of impurity? Like we learned, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I took you out of this to be a slave from Egypt, to be my servant. And he heard that on Har Sinai. But what did he choose to do? He chose to do something wrong. He chose to do something where he would be sold as a slave. So now he went so low, and he was attached himself to the Nachash. And since he attached himself to the Nachash, he can now be connected to that Shifcha Kananis, to the non-Jewish lady, while he's a slave. But when he goes out at the end of the 6th year, then he can be together with his wife, and he can be elevated again, because he'll be together with Isha Yiras Hashem, which is the Jewish life. Kizeh Yadua Sheikra Atikan Shel Harechaikim Hu Al Yedei Habonim Shemalidim Bekashris Bas Yisrael. That we know what's the greatest tikkun for the Rechaikim, those that are distant from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, far away, is what? Al Yedei Habonim, is through the children. Shemailidim, that are born bekashrus mibas Yisrael. The Jew, our children. It's all about our children. We know it's always about the children. It's about our children, our grandchildren. Valkein afa pi sheyisa shifcha. Even though he has this shifcha, yesh le tikva, he still has hope. Kikvar yesh le kesha v'chiba b'yiras Hashem. He's connected to the Yiras Hashem. He's connected to his wonderful wife that he's going to go back to. Hashem. Because he's connected then to the Isha Yiras Hashem. But if he goes in by himself, begapa yetze dainu she'im ein la isha bas Yisrael begapa yetze. If he has no Jewish wife going in, he goes out himself. Because if he doesn't have a way to be lifted back up to the Isha Yiras Hashem. And he sold himself to be a slave. And then he give him a shifcha kinanis to have other children. So then he's going to be lost, totally lost, because he has no tikva. He has no connection to a Jewish woman. And the whole hope is the connection to the Jewish lady, to his Jewish wife, to the Bas Yisrael. When he has a connection to the Bas Yisrael, he can be redeemed. That's the opposite. Never the gamri. He would be totally lost. And therefore, if he goes in by himself, he goes out by himself. They can't give him a shivcha. They can't give him the non-Jewish lady, the slave. Which is the bechina of Amalek. And this is in Hilchas Bechar Behema Tahira. It's from the Kutei Halachas Halacha Daled, and it's ice, and it's letter Chavav 26. So does anyone have any questions on this?
Can he marry a Jewish woman? If he goes as a single person, I can't do that either.
No, he can't. No, while he's a slave, when he leaves, he can marry a Jewish lady. Of course he can.
But why is a slave? Can he marry a Jewish?
No, he's no. He's not. He has no rights to himself. See, when he's a Jewish slave, he has no rights to himself, so he can't take off time. He doesn't get time off to take the wedding and then to have the Sheva brachas. He doesn't have that.
So
he doesn't have that. No.
Okay, I think so.
No, if it would be nice for the master, because the master would say, okay, go get married, so I can now give you a shivcha kinana, so you'll make me more slaves. But it doesn't work. No, it doesn't work like that. Anyone else have any questions, any comments? Yaakov, does that help you understand this situation? Okay, everyone, thank you.